Graph the trapezoid, and those are the points given. The A, B, the C, and the D are the 4 points. Find the length of the bottom base or segment CB. Then find the length of the top base, segment AD. Use grid units. So you definitely need graph paper. They're saying grid units. We want to make sure we are graphing accurately. So pause the video and get some graph paper. I already have a graph paper on my video background, and we'll get started. We want to make sure we graph it correctly. And after that, we're going to be finding length. How long is it from point A to point B? In this case, they're saying segment C to B, okay? Or they're calling it the bottom base. And then we're going to find the length of the top base or AD, segment AD. But we do need to graph it first. So let's pause the video and get the graph paper. So go ahead and write on your paper what are you going to be graphing. So in this case, we're going to graph those 4 points. And then I also, before I draw the X and the Y coordinate or the coordinate plane, I want to take a look at what the X's as numbers are. So looking at the X, or the first, basically the first numbers, I have an 8, that's the highest number I see, and the smaller number I see is -4. So for X, now I know the range. Now let's look at for the Y. How tall is it gonna be? The tallest, I need a 5, and the lowest point it's like -2. So now I know more information of how am I gonna be drawing my X and Y axes. Now each of my squares will be 1 unit. So when you're drawing your X axis, you want to make sure you draw it on top of the grid paper. You don't want it to be in between, right? So that's a big mistake that I see all the time. So let me erase that. So it needs to be similarly for the Y. You want to make sure you're on top of the grid so that each square is 1 unit. So don't draw it in between. So that will be a mistake. Now my ratio of the scale will be 1 to 1, or I'm just again counting. Each of those is 1 vertically or horizontally. So I don't have to write all the numbers unless I want to. So pause the video and graph your X and Y axis. Make sure you label and put all these arrows that I'm putting right now. So I'm going to actually put some numbers in, but again, this is just for visual representation, but each square is counting by 1 and so on. But I don't want to have too many numbers so that I could do my extra work. So I am numbering. Remember, at the center is 0, 0. I just decide to skip and count by 2s, but the 1s are there as well, right? So right now, let's start with point A. So the X axis, or the X coordinate is 6. I have to go to the 6 first, and then I have to go 5 up. So the Y is 5. So 5 up from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that will be here. And then I could double check and say, here's the Y equals 5, and here's the X equals 6. So it's 6, 5. If you reverse the order, you will get a different point. So it's very important if you're doing it accurately. So go with the X first and then the Y. And you also want to label as point A, so that you would have 4 points. Remember, we are going to be making a trapezoid. So if it doesn't look like a trapezoid, something's wrong with your plotting. So go ahead and plot the rest of the points on your own. I will do B in this video as well in front of you. So B is 8. I'm going to go towards the 8 for the X first. So X is what I'm looking first. And then it says -2 for Y. So I need to go down for -2. So it's going to be from the 8. I'm going down 2 units. So it's going to be right over here. So that will be the location for B. So pause the video and do C and D on your own. Now go ahead and check your other 2 points. Check if you did C correctly and D correctly before you connect. And go ahead and get a straight edge so you could connect all the points together and look at the trapezoid. So pause the video and do that. So once I connected, I decided to also write the coordinates for each of the points so I could see the numbers instead of counting again. And because I have my drawing, they're kind of away from the drawing, so I would write them near that letter so I could see. But the location of the point I have, so the location is there as a dot, and again I'm just annotating the same coordinates so that everything will be on the paper. Now let's concentrate on what we're being asked in example A. So let's see, it says find the length, so how long something is, for the bottom base, in this case CD. So I'm looking for CD, it's right over here in terms of length. Okay, so one way I can do the length for CB is technically count. I can say, well, from here is 1 unit, 2 units, and so on all the way there. That's one way. Another way is I can say, well, it's a horizontal. CB is horizontal, so the X coordinates are the numbers that I'm interested in and use the absolute value. So go ahead and pause the video and count, and then after that let's record using absolute value as well. Okay, so by counting I got 12 units. This is just counting by counting, so let's write that down. Okay, now if I use absolute value, I'm saying, well, C is on the left side of the 0, and that's the 0 is right here, right? And then it's 4 units. So I'm going to write absolute value of -4 is what I need for the x-axis. And then I need to add because they're on different sides, right? And then I have 8 more units here. So I got 4 units here. So adding the absolute value of 8. So absolute value of -4 is 4, or distance from 0, and then absolute value of 8 is 8. So we are getting the 12. So same idea, either counting or doing absolute value, so we get the same thing. Now go ahead and pause the video and find the length for the top base, or the segment AD. That will be the one on top. You could see the AD. So do it on your own. Okay, so moving on with letter B. It says find the distance between the two bases, which is called the height. Use grid units. Once again, let's go back. So we're doing distance between the two bases. So the one we found, it's distance. So I'm going to highlight it. Let's see, or I'm going to use green. So a distance from one base to the other. So if I'm on this point right here, that's on top of the base, I go straight down using the grid, and that will be the shortest distance called the height. So this will be called the height. Now I could have started with any other point. I could say, well, if I start with a corner point, would that be the same thing? So yes. So you could use any of the 2 points as long as you're going directly down using the grid, or like a perpendicular 90-degree angle. Basically, it's what the 2 base make. So that's called the height. So right now I showed you how to find the distances. With the numbers, however, so first count, and the second way, and write it down that's what you're looking for. So write what you're looking for. So one way count, and the second way use absolute value. Now what you could do is look at the numbers. It's the vertical, so it's going up and down, right? So the y value changes. So you want to look at the 5, and what other number on the bottom? The -2. So those are the 2 numbers you would use for the absolute value. So finish this problem on your own.